Greetings folks and welcome to the Electromaker Show. This is your midweek roundup of all things Maker and embedded and lovely. This week we're looking at a few interesting announcements from Arduino, a plethora of things on funding websites and a few interesting new boards and things like that. So without any further ado, let's get on with the show. We'll be beginning this week's show talking about the new Arduino Nano Connect with the RP2040 chip in it, but first a little quick housekeeping. There are 3 things you can do to support this show and they are all free. The first is to make sure that you are subscribed to this channel, which shouldn't change the way you use YouTube at all. The second is to click the notification bell, which will. What that will mean is that every time there is a video uploaded onto this channel, you will get a notification in YouTube. If you don't turn on notifications in your browser, you won't get like a desktop notification or anything, but you will on YouTube. We pretty much only put this show up on the channel, so you won't be getting spammed by us, and it's a great way of telling YouTube that you want to know when the show comes out straight away. The finalist and simplest one is just to click like on the video if you like it. Leaving comments is absolutely optional, but is always lovely to read. And that's about it. Thank you so much for all the support you are showing us. We're really noticing it. And just a reminder, we have a shop on the Electromaker website, and we have our own Discord server, so you can buy things from us, come and chat to us. Myriads of ways to talk to us. But for now, let's talk about Arduino. Because the Arduino Nano RP2040 Connect is here. Yes, this is the news that's just dropped from the Arduino blog itself, saying that the long-awaited board is here. As always, I'm not going to read through a blog post to you. You can go and read this to yourself. A few choice things I like here well, first things first, it's available. It is available. It is in the shop. Here is the shop page. You can see I have been reading it. And this little board is €22. And some of you might be thinking like, hang on, that's quite a bit more than the Raspberry Pi Pico. Yes, but you are getting a lot more for your money. So first things first, one thing the Pi Pico was lacking was any kind of onboard connectivity. This has the NINA W102 Wi-Fi and Bluetooth module on it already, so you're already getting connectivity, which is already a big step up. Now, the Pi Pico did have some onboard sensing. It had that onboard temperature and humidity sensor. This steps up just a little bit further. So it has a 6-axis machine learning capable IMU motion sensor. I'm not sure what makes a motion sensor machine learning capable, but maybe that's something I haven't quite looked up yet. An onboard microphone for sound and voice activation and an RGB LED. It also says it has loads of multifunction GPIO pins, and they ain't kidding. If you look under the text specs here, that's 20 digital I/O pins, but they are all PWM capable and all external interrupts, which is kind of a bit of a step up from all of the other regular Arduino boards. I know some of the more recent ones have been quite good in that regard, but it's a lot of power. And you also get those 8 analog pins as well. So as well as the board itself, which seems pretty powerful and pretty well priced when you actually take into account all of the bits and pieces they've managed to fit in it, they've also updated the Arduino Mbed core. And there's a separate blog post linked from this blog post about it, which is well worth a read. I was dimly aware of the fact that they did actually create a basically one-size-fits-all pluggable core for Arduino Mbed boards so that they could use the new Nano boards that they use Mbed OS on. And I think that all preceded the Portenta. I'm probably saying things that are exactly in front of my eyes. But the fact remains that now they can use this for the new Arduino Nano RP2040 Connect boards. I'm still getting used to the name. But it also means that if you have a Raspberry Pi Pico and you've wanted to use the Arduino IDE with it, you can just plug a Pi Pico into the Arduino IDE. And because of the Mbed core being quite a generic, will work with any board with those chips. It will just work, which is nice. And of course, we all knew that Arduino support would be somewhere down the line when Arduino suggested they'd be doing their own board, but it is just nice to see. So yes, it's here. The board that many people were sort of excited when it was announced because of everything that comes with Arduino, easy to use and well trusted everywhere with this new very exciting chip from the Raspberry Pi. And without putting too much meaning on it, I do think it is quite a nice thing that for so many years, if you are someone who is a hobby electronics person, you've had Raspberry Pis, like single-board computers, on the one side, and then microcontrollers like Arduinos on the other. And the fact that these things are clashing and are now becoming one amorphous blob and making things that are branded with both, even though there was never probably any rivalry there, it's a stupid thing to think. It's just a nice thing to have in my brain. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. Yes, this is definite waffling and I will stop, but here is the blog post. I will link it in the description. It is well worth a read, yes, it is a very exciting board. I cannot wait to get my hands on one and have a little bit of a play with it. Staying with Arduino, clearly the Nano RP2040 Connect is the big news in terms of Arduino of the week, but there is another Arduino thing that is in some ways to me a little bit more exciting even than that. Yes, I am a fan of documentation, and it makes sense that I am because I'm a writer, or at least that's been a big part of my career, and I'm a writer who loves things like microcontrollers and devices, and I've helped people write documentation for their projects, and the fact that Arduino are overhauling their documentation I find super, super interesting. So this is a blog post again on the Arduino blog talking about how they're changing the docs and the reasoning behind it. It's a good read, but the docs themselves are here, and I really like these changes. Essentially, it's just like usual docs. It's a list of all the different boards and things like that. But say, for example, I had just got myself one of the new Nano RP2040 Connect boards. If I click on it here, you'll find that here it's a very nice overview of all the things about it. There's a click straight here for the quick start guide if you want that. And it just tells you exactly how you can get started with it in a really simple and easy to follow way. And then there's a few other things here like essentials and tutorials and resources. I'm assuming things like this might even get updated as more things come out for them. But yes, if you are someone who, like me, likes really good documentation, you'll be excited about this. And even if not, if you're someone who uses Arduino at all in any way, it will definitely be something that you will find useful at some point. One other tiny quick point before moving on, it's such a little thing, but I am really happy about it, is that the datasheet for the RP2040 Connect is really nice. And that sounds like such a little thing, but the datasheet and user guide for the other RP2040 board, the Pi Pico, is also quite nice. And I just really like this idea that people are spending a little bit more time making datasheets a little bit more readable to the average person like me. Don't get me wrong, I love digging through the insanely dense STM32 datasheet when I need to, or the resource guide or whatever it's actually called. Yeah, I just thought it was worth a mention. This is actually quite nice to read. And amazingly, we're still not done with Arduino for this week's show because I talked about the strain sensor on last week's show that made use of graphite, and funnily enough, Arduino tweeted out this, which is of a similar concept, but rather than making a stretch and strain sensor, this is using a pressure sensor using bits and pieces you will find around the house. This is a project that Arduino have tweeted out from a YouTuber called David Huang, which shows a completely homemade pressure sensor, which again uses pencil graphite. And one of the things about this that I thought was quite nice is that, as you can see here, he's moving from side to side, and the way that's being done is by putting simply a pressure sensor under 1 foot of each stool, which is a very simple but effective way of determining where the person's body weight is, and is a very simple form of motion sensing. Really nice, really inventive, and using bits and pieces you probably have lying around the house right now. Oh yeah, and processing. I am a big fan of processing. I don't like Java very much, but I do like processing. So the video, which is in the Chinese language, although there are English subtitles, takes you through the insanely simple process of making this. It's basically just putting graphite on a little piece of foam padding and then putting 2 wires across the graphite. And then when the pressure on the foam changes, the resistance changes across those 2 wires. Very similar to the strain sensor we talked about last week. And then you sense that change with an Arduino, and then what you do with it is up to you. As mentioned, this project uses processing, but yeah, there's various things that you could do with this. It is wonderful in its simplicity, and it's something that, again, a great thing to try with children, a very educational thing. And I think there are many people out there that will still be somewhat amazed that just the stuff that is inside a pencil and a couple of wires could have such a visual element to it, and actually give a visual idea about how things like resistance and electricity work. It's something that I am very much looking forward to trying when my son is a little bit older. Right now, I think he'd probably throw it at me, but that's beside the point. This is very cool. I shall leave a link to it in the description of this video. Moving on to funding website things, and this week we have 3 different funding projects from 3 different funding websites. And we are starting on Crowd Supply with another pre-launch project. Now, this one is for virtual reality, which is something we don't cover often on the show because it doesn't fit 100% into the purview of microcontrollers and hobby projects and maker projects. However, there is a huge subsection of the maker community that are working with VR to either hack it and to create their own custom sensors for it, or in the case of Charles Law, who I've talked about many times, completely hack his Vive and make his own virtual reality system, which is a thing we'll get into on another day. This is a set of body trackers for VR. Which work using Wi-Fi rather than any kind of towers in the room, which I think really sets it aside from some of the other things that are out there. So I think this video highlights it very, very well. You can see in the background here that the head and hand tracking is being taken care of by the Oculus Quest VR system, but the leg movements, so there's one on each knee and one on each ankle, that is all being tracked using these SlimeVR trackers, which means that the online avatar, because avatars like this are fairly common in things like VR chat. In fact, like I say, I don't have much experience of VR myself, but most of my friends that are into VR don't play games all that often. They mostly just hang out online chatting to other people in chat rooms. Chat rooms have come on quite a lot since the MSN Messenger of my teenage years. But yes, that's how this works. But as previously mentioned, I think the thing for me that I find pretty special is that these don't require any kind of line of sight towers or anything. They just work via Wi-Fi. And in fact, as I can see here, it has an ESP12F chip on it. That's just an ESP8266 module with a little IMU unit. It's a really inventive way of taking quite simple bits of kit, but placing them on your body in ways that should last a decent while with a decent Li-ion battery as it has there, and can slot into a existing VR setup. I understand that this might be stretching the interest for some people that watch this show, but it's definitely inventive enough for me to think that it is worth looking into. And it made me think immediately that, yes, this is great for VR, and I'm sure the software stack they're creating is good for VR, but I could think of a bunch of reasons to have really nicely little Wi-Fi attached little inertial measurement units on different parts of your body. I feel like this is going to be a little bit more useful than just VR, but this is a VR project without any doubt. It is, after all, called SlimeVR. But at the end of the day, despite me not being someone who's that into VR, I'm very much into this project because this is in essence a small, nicely designed, movement-based development board with a wireless chip in it and a battery. And the people that are making this clearly believe in the idea of you doing your own thing with it by the fact that, as many things are on Crowd Supply, it is open source hardware and software, and even the people themselves are saying it takes USB to charge it and to hack it. So SlimeVR full body tracker looks very interesting. I will leave a link to it in the description of this video. Moving over to Indiegogo with Cody Block. Now, we've covered something similar to this on the show before. This is a kid's toy, which is designed to teach kids the very fundamentals of things like logic and programming without actually having to give them devices. Because I understand completely why some people would not want to do that with kids at a very young age. But what this essentially is a little car with a motor in it, as you can see, and a microcontroller and an RFID reader, and then a bunch of wooden city block buildings, each one of which has an RFID tag in, and the car drives forward until it reads a tag and then acts based on one of these different things. Now, I should mention that this Indiegogo campaign is from a little while ago, and they've already raised close to 100,000 euros to get this project going, and they're in the point now where they're trying to deliver it to their backers, but like so many other people are being slowed down by the global chip shortage, which is a subject we'll be returning to on this show, I am sure. But I really just like the idea behind this project more than anything. It sounds like a cliched thing to say, but these sort of real gifts that you can give to children are really great, especially if you are someone who's a little tech obsessed and wants to be able to give a gift to a friend's child without feeling like you're also trying to pass on your hobby or obsession to them. And obviously many people are quite anti-technology for younger people. For someone who is so obsessed with technology and fiddling with things and all that kind of stuff, we don't really have anything like that in the flat. That's why I have the Attic of Dreams. And I think this is a great way to start introducing these concepts to children. And it's the kind of thing that, when Elliot is a little bit older, I'm sure we'll be thinking about things like this for presents. But yes, also anything that fits this kind of tech into the kind of enclosure that you don't normally see is something that I find notable, which is why this caught my eye. And if it is something that you're interested in looking into, you can head over to the page yourself and take a look. Since this is a quite nice and bespoke thing, it's a little bit more expensive than your average toy you'd get in the shop. You're going to be spending around 169 euros for the basic set. But again, this is not your average kind of throwaway gift, in my opinion. Of course, I haven't had my hands on them. I have no idea. I don't really know much about this project. It just, like I said, it caught my eye and I thought you might be interested in it. Now on Kickstarter, a project called Casey. It is a multi-sensory learning system, and I would really advise you to go and watch this video because Dr. Wedler, maybe I'm saying it German, will describe it far better than I can. But in short, this is a tactile system for building chemical elements. Dr. Wedler is blind, and these little disc devices which have braille on them can be placed down on a board, and a camera will read what they are and then determine whether these things make up a chemical bond or not. and it is a voiced system. Let me give you a very quick demo of what that means.
Added to board, hydrogen. Hydrogen, bonded to, oxygen. The electron count is 5.
Great, so we just used one of oxygen's 6 valence electrons up. We're going to bond another hydrogen to oxygen, because we know the formula is H2O.
Added to board, hydrogen. Hydrogen, bonded to, oxygen. The electron count is 4.
Excellent, the electron count is 4. That means I need 2 additional lone pairs to go on my oxygen to make water, and make that electron count 0. We'll do them one at a time.
Lone pair on, oxygen. The electron count is 2.
Excellent, electron count is 2. We're going to add one more lone pair.
Lone pair on, oxygen. The electron count is 0. You've made H2O, water.
I've never been able to do that before. Now I know there's something that I can show my instructor or one of my friends, and they know that I know how to draw water.
So I wanted to let that play out a bit because I feel like it says better than I would in words why this is such an interesting project. Now, just before I go on, as you can see, this is an ongoing project. There's 15 days to go on it. There are 12,000 euros towards their 36,000 euro goal to turn this into a system that will be able to help people learn. And the idea is it's not just designed to help people who are sightless. It's designed to help people who want to have a tactile way of learning as well. There is a lot to read through on this Kickstarter page, and I would advise you to go and give it a read. But in short, if you are wanting to help, you can simply just help with the financial $10 financial help, or you can get stickers, you can get limited edition KC magnets. If you actually want to get your hand on the KC pieces and software, it's $75. Now, that will just be the pieces themselves and the software. You'll still need to provide your own webcam, but I mean, even something similar like Quality Webcam 2, which is what I use for the mystery box competition, would be more than enough for that. Just anything that can focus down on a sheet of paper. And then you can get the full KC set for $100. Again, like other things I've talked about on this week's show, this might not be something that has a direct interest for you, but you may know someone who is a teacher, an educator, who wouldn't necessarily think of using this kind of technology and bringing it into their classroom that might be interested in this, and you might want to point them in this direction. From my perspective, it's something that I would just really like to support because it just seems like such a wonderful idea. But in short, yes, a tactile way of creating chemical elements in a way that, had I been able to have access to that, I might have had a little bit more interest in high school chemistry than I did. So I will leave a link to it in the description of this video, and you can go and take a look at it yourself. We are returning to the mystery box, and yeah, it is a box with mystery box written on it. It is given to us by the fabulous people at Mauser, and basically I reach my hand in each week and take something out. That is not a... Oh, it is! Oh, I was about to say that is not a prize that should be in this box, because it looked for a second exactly like those tiny little books I used to get when I was small. Which weren't really books at all. You'd get sweets inside them. And that's what I thought this is, but it isn't. I think I know what this is, actually. Give me one moment. So, as I suspected, this is the Texas Instruments sensor kit, or sensor Simple Link Multi-Standard Sensor Tag is its full title. We have actually given away one of these on the show before. It was the revision before, but they are functionally identical. And that little microcontroller you can see there is the CC2650 wireless microcontroller. It's a super low-powered microcontroller from Texas Instruments, and this little evaluation board has 10 different sensors on it. There is a list on the page that I will show you in a moment. There is the 10 low power sensors, including ambient light, digital microphone, magnetic sensor, humidity, pressure, accelerometer, gyroscope, magnetometer, and object temperature, along with ambient temperature. So yeah, this is quite a sweet little board. And it runs on a single watch battery, which you cannot see. It's in this nice little case. In fact, the entire way this thing fits together, I really quite like. This little sleeve that it runs into. I'm aware that you can't see it well right now. And it's just a very tidy little device. And just very quickly, here is the page I was talking about. This is the documentation page from Texas Instruments. It basically just tells you exactly what I have. that it has these low power sensors, that it is ultra low powerful with years of battery life from a single coin battery cell, which is included in here, and is completely and 100% new, apart from the fact that I accidentally pulled the battery seal. So from the day that this is being filmed, this battery is completely new. But yes, it had one of those little plastic battery seals, and while I was trying to pull this out of its little housing, I accidentally pulled the battery seal out. But yes, if it lasts for years on a single coin cell, hopefully the short time between me giving this prize away and it getting to you won't be too much of an issue. So yes, whoever wins the prize, I'll make sure that you get access to this page. But now that we have a very cool little prize, we should probably pick a prize winner. And our winner this week is Robert Porter, who commented on last week's show saying, "I could see doing the hand for a Halloween prot." With an evil grin. This is, of course, the animatronic hand, very cleverly designed using just bits of tubing and servos and the leap motion. So yes, congratulations, Robert. We'll be getting this beautiful little IoT device out to you. We'll be in touch to get your address. Just a quick reminder, in case it's the first time you're watching the show or you've forgotten for some reason, every comment that's left in our video gets entered into the following week's mystery box competition, unless we're doing some kind of special competition or something like that. And yes, there's lots more lovely little, and like this is somewhat obscure to me, but I think it's such a lovely little thing. It's great to be able to give this stuff away each week, and we'll be doing that next week. But for now, let's get back to the show. We're going to finish off this week's show looking at a few interesting things I noticed on the internet this week, starting with the new ROC chip system on chip designed for Android TV boxes and various different single board computers. There are actually two different variants of this we're going to take a quick look at. So here on CNX Software, we are looking at the ROC-RK3566-PC, which is based on the new RK3566 system on chip. Now, that system on chip is frequently going to be put into things like Android TVs, and funnily enough, we'll come back to that in just a moment. But here is the board itself. Quite a small-ish compact form factor, and as you can see, it has a lot of the things that you would expect. It has, well, the full list are here, but I can tell you it has one USB 3 port, one USB 2 port. It has an Ethernet connector, HDMI, and a USB Type-C, both for power and OTG. Some I/O here, but here is the really exciting part. The M2 PCI 2 slot means you can put an NVMe SSD straight into this. Something you cannot do with the Raspberry Pi 4. So I imagine people will find this a compelling choice just for that. So, as previously mentioned, the full list of specs can be seen here, and I'll link it in the description as always so you can have a look at it yourself, and there's a diagram here of it as well. But one of the choice cuts here is that there likely is going to be the RKNN toolkit, because this has an integrated neural processing unit on it, so you'll be able to use it with things like TensorFlow and Caffe and all the things that they're saying here, which is, if you're interested in that, is something that is worth keeping an eye out for, because I imagine it'll be coming out. But here's another lovely little design choice, that the Ethernet port is sunk into the board like this, giving it a very flat and much smaller footprint in general in terms of height. It's just a small point, but it's a nice one, and I love seeing things like that in boards. And it says somewhere down here that, yeah, the low profile Ethernet port is nice for people wanting to design compact clusters. Exactly, my thoughts, exactly. The 2 gigabytes RAM version, the 2 gigabytes of RAM version with 32 gigabytes of eMMC is going for $75, and the 4 gigabytes with 32 gigabytes is of 4 gigabytes of RAM, 32 gigabytes of storage. Oh, I'm tripping over my words today. Is going for $105. And those prices will be going up in a month or so. As to value for money, I don't know, this offers something a little bit different to the Raspberry Pi 4. You're getting that onboard storage, and you have the possibility of the PCIe 2.0 slot as well. This is something a little bit different, and it's something a little bit compelling as well. So I will leave a link to it in the description. You can have a look at it, and there is a link to the purchase page right here. So you can head through and look for that. But this is not the only one that's not the only board, with this system on chip that we're looking at right now. Yes, it's high time we featured an ETA Prime video on this channel once again, and this is no different. This is looking at an Android TV box, the X88 Pro, which has this same system on chip in it. Now, I haven't much more to say to this other than it's an ETA Prime video, so the quality is very, very high. It's a good teardown. It shows you it in action. And of course, this is an ETA Prime video, so you also get a quick look at some Android gaming, along with a little bit of emulation. It wouldn't be an ETA Prime video if it wasn't there. I just thought it was sort of interesting that these two things showed up at the same time, using the same system on chip. And it's the kind of thing that I know some of us are quite interested in. I tend not to mess around with Android forward single board computers. And I think it's to my detriment. I think there's a real world there of devices that could be quite simple to integrate into modern day life, to use for things, for whether it is retro gaming or whether it is some kind of media center. I tend to always lean towards Linux-based devices, and I should spend a bit more time looking into this kind of stuff. And I found it compelling enough that there are two ROC-RK3566 pieces of media that fit together so nicely. So that's why I thought I'd feature them on the show this week. And of course, I will link this video in the description as well. Up next, Scratch Week, something that is ongoing as we speak. It's the 17th to the 23rd of May, so by the time you see this, there'll be a few days of it left, but the whole thing will still be documented online. If you're not familiar with Scratch, it's pretty much the block programming language. If you've seen that thing where you add blocks together in a way to make code, and you see this little cat that you've seen on the screen here move around on the screen, that's Scratch, and it's one of the most recognizable and well-known forms of block coding to teach people about it before they're in a position where they can really learn text code. It's a wonderful piece of software, and Scratch Day is now Scratch Week, and there's all these different projects that you can see online. And there's a number of ways you can do it. So I will link to this page because this page has everything you need. But if you, for example, click on the Scratch Online Community, which I have open in this tab, the Featured Studios heading has all of the different things that happened this week. So, for example, under Cooking with Scratch, you have 100+ different projects, which are all how different kinds of things to do with food. So I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but let's just have a quick look at Eating Simulator. So click on the food to eat it. And it says play with sound. Oh no, you got salmonella and died. Yeah. This is the kind of thing that there's all these different things. It's a celebration of lots of different people making things with Scratch. And if you would just like to maybe just have a look and have an overview of it, the Scratch team is a great Twitter account to follow as well. Again, linked from the main page here. Somewhere down here, there is the Scratch Twitter account. The hashtag Scratch Week has a bunch of different things on it as well, and this is just a very nice thing. I spent a little bit of time just looking through this on my phone earlier, and seeing, just all the things that are coming together using Scratch for Scratch Week. Just a very nice thing. I'm very glad it exists. Scratch is a fundamental positive in the world, I think. There's a lot of people who had their first experiences with coding who maybe grew up to become computer engineers or in the process of doing so, just a wonderful thing. Finally this week, the latest video from Scanlime. Scanlime is the YouTube channel of Mika Elizabeth Scott, all-round maker, artist, inventor, and generally autodidact, or at least it seems so. She seems to be able to pick up almost anything and do something kind of beautiful with it. And in this case, she's taking the idea of the Bristlebot. Now, the Bristlebot was a very simple idea where you take the end of a toothbrush, you take a little vibration motor that you would find in a mobile phone, or at the time a pager, and then you stick a battery on it, and just because of the way the motor would vibrate and the bristles, it would always move in one direction. This is taking 3 of them and then using a Raspberry Pi to try and use it as a drawing surface. Now, this is building on one of her previous videos where she was trying to hack these drawing pads. And what she's done basically is added this coil to make it think that this is a stylus, and then put a piece of paper over the top, so that on the computer you can say you want it to draw a certain shape, it will move around, and then the pad will tell you where it is, and it will try and correct itself. It's a completely force feedback, a feedback loop, that does all of the drawing, and it is just, in her inimitable style, a wonderful video which starts with an idea, shows you it working, then iterates over it and iterates over it, and lets you into her process. Just every single one of her videos is just a wonderful, almost stream of consciousness way of working through, and it's like you're following her through these ideas and designs. I say this about so many YouTube channels, but she is genuinely one of my favorite YouTube channels, and I very look forward to every single video that she uploads. So yes, if you're interested in possibly the simplest form of a pen drawing robot that does it in a very interesting and somehow unpredictable way, you will be really into this video. Anyhow, I will leave a link to this video in the description, as I will for every other thing that we have featured on this week's show. That was our show for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll be back with another show next week. Thank you all so much for the support that you were showing this show. It's not going unnoticed. And the fact that all these people are joining the Discord now, and that just generally people are coming back to the show each week and watching it in your hundreds, sometimes thousands, is a very, very lovely thing. So thank you very much for that. And as always, I hope you have a safe, creative, and happy week. And I'll see you next time.